Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Benchwarmers podcast. This is episode 13, 2.0. Yes, that's right. Somebody has messed up with the recording, the audio recording, and we spent a whole 20 minutes recording an episode and there was no volume whatsoever. Hey, was that you, Matt, over there? Hey.
I don't know why you're blaming me over here. Nothing to do with it.
Anyways, less of that. In today's episode, we're talking about tennis. All things tennis. Now, this was a sport I was actually half decent at growing up, but now we're going to be talking about the Australian Open because that happened over the weekend, the men's and women's singles, and we're going to talk about the finals basically. So let's get straight into business. Matt, what are your thoughts on the men's singles final?
Well, my initial thoughts are, why are we doing tennis, right?
Yeah,
because it's something we've never covered before.
Okay.
Especially on this channel, it's the first time us doing it. And, it's the first time I've actually watched a tennis game in 7, 8 years.
But did you enjoy it, Matt? Go on.
We'll get to that later, whether or not I enjoyed it. We'll save that for later on in the episode.
Okay.
But, watching the Australian Open, bit of a new experience for us, I'd say.
Oh, most definitely.
It's a sport we've never really been into, at all.
When I was younger, I was half decent playing it.
I used to play tennis too, but I wasn't watching it, avidly.
Okay, fair enough.
But, Australian Open happened. We had the final against Alexander Zverev and, Sinner?
Yeah.
Yannick Sinner. Obviously, Zverev getting into the finals is solely because Djokovic got injured and, had to pull out, which is something I actually want to bring up. Do you think if Djokovic wasn't injured and didn't have to retire, he would have been in that final as well and potentially would have won it?
Short answer is yes. Honestly, I think Djokovic is probably one of the better people in the sport.
He's probably players. The best men's player.
And in comparison to Sinner, who actually did go on and win it, I feel like that would have been a really good final between the two. But for me, I do think Djokovic is probably another level above the rest of the other two guys in the final for me, and I think he would have gone on to win it. His whole technique, he's been doing it for, he's way more experienced, and he's been doing it for a lot longer. So I just think he would have had that cutting edge in those final moments in the game. But what do you think, Matt?
Yeah, no, I think I'd probably said the same thing. Djokovic has been here forever. I think as long as I can remember. I just heard Djokovic being in tennis, and it's a whole thing of what ifs, isn't it, in sport? What if he actually got to the final? But he didn't. Zverev. Some would say he didn't deserve to be there because he won on a technicality, but at the same time, others would say, yeah, he deserved to be there. But I think at the same time, he put up a fight against Sinner, but he really didn't he? He was 3-0.
Yeah.
Sinner absolutely wiped the floor with Zverev, and Sinner won his third Grand Slam title. So Yannick Sinner smashed it against Zverev, and I think it was a disappointing final because I think many people expected Djokovic to be in it.
Yeah, because Djokovic has won 5 Grand Slams. I'm pretty sure if I'm correct. Always type in the comments. But for me, Sinner was so dominant and was so composed in those final moments in the game. Right, he did one his final little rally between Alexander Zverev. I might have said that wrong. I don't know. Was really fantastic, and the way he sort of lobbed the ball over the net, and he forced the German tennis players to run forward and sort of try and lose balance a little bit, caught him off guard a little bit, and Sinner sort of had the advantage really, and he pretty much won the game from that point where he chipped the ball over. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing every tennis player knows, is that if you bring your opponent into the net and they hit a weak shot back at you and you just get the opportunity to just smash it, as long as that ball goes in on the other side, that's an easy point for you. And I think that's exactly how Sinner put it in his head when he finished the game off. Bring him to the net, smash it out, win the game.
Yeah, for me that was the highlight of the game. The highlight of the final. That was fantastic. Should we move on to the women's game now? Would you reckon, Matt?
Yeah, so
anything
obviously,
else to speak about? Or?
Well, obviously this is the first time of us covering tennis, like I said earlier. So we didn't watch every single category, because I know there's doubles, there's mixed doubles, all that. We only watched the men and women's singles, and the women's singles also put on a bit of a show, other than the men's one. Actually, I think women's probably put on a bit more of a show than the men's game. I think, what's her name? Madison Keys?
Yeah,
The
you're correct.
American.
Yeah, yeah.
She faced Sabalenka. Obviously, Sabalenka is a name that's probably growing a bit more rapidly than some others in women's tennis. They had a go at the final, and Keys, the underdog, managed to win against Sabalenka by, I think it was 1 point at the end.
Yeah, you're correct. She won only by 1 point, and this was fantastic. This was such a fantastic story for me because the last time she was at Grand Slam final, not final, sorry, she in the Grand Slam was like 7.5 years ago. I'm pretty sure, if my math is correct. And she got knocked out for injuries, or she had to retire through an injury, and hasn't been back since. And she's sort of worked her way back into it. She was a massive underdog in this Grand Slam. Nobody expected her to reach the final, and she came back and won it. And that was just a great story for me, like an underdog story. I think that is probably one of my favourites watching sports. It's a fantastic story. Winning it by 1 point was amazing. Matt?
I think you're stretching it a little bit by saying that's one of your favourite underdog stories of all
No,
sport.
no. What I'm trying to say is bring it back a little bit. The underdog story of any sport, that is probably my favourite compared to like.
So you just like the general underdog story.
Yeah,
sport.
that's what I meant.
You're not saying this specifically
No.
was your favourite.
Well, maybe. Who knows? We'll have to do a tier list one day. Check out the old TikToks for that. But go on then, Matt. Bring it back to the episode a little bit here.
Yeah, well, like you were saying,
Yeah.
It's a good story for her. Obviously, I think another thing is she was also on the older end of the spectrum in the sport. Sabalenka being a bit younger.
29, I think she was, or
I think Keys is older than 69. Not 69, my bad.
oh, okay,
29.
Sorry,
I was
29.
putting it off by 40 years. That would have been impressive if a 69-year-old is winning in tennis. But no,
Who knows? Maybe one day.
I think I have a little stat here. It's saying that there's only 3 other women who have actually won a Grand Slam final who were over the age of 29, and now Keys is one of them. So
That's an impressive stat.
Quite an impressive stat, I'd say.
I like that. What did you think about the performance in the end, Matt? Was you surprised that Sabalenka didn't do so well? Did she not do so well? Was it more of a tight game? What are your thoughts on that?
I think Sabalenka herself even thought to herself, it's not really the best performance I put out there. I think she thought that she deserved to win. I think many other people were thinking the same thing. Like she probably looked like the stronger opponent going into the game. And I'm probably on the same half. I haven't been watching the entirety of it. I don't know Sabalenka's history. But looking into that game and the run up to it, I think Sabalenka looked like she was the main person you should put your money on to win it. And I think in the end, her performance looked a bit lackluster against Keys. And that's just what allowed Keys to win it in the end.
Yeah, for me, I think you are right in saying it was sort of like a open game. Both it was very, very even. Between the two sides.
Don't get me wrong, it was very close. Like it brought to 1 point at the end, so it's obviously a very close game. But the run Sabalenka had, she should have won it a bit more comfortably than that. But she lost in the end.
Right. Should we move on to our next talking point, Matt? Are you happy to move on, or should we got anything else to mention?
Yeah, well, the one thing I wanted to bring up, because I know our viewers will be seeing the same thing. Our viewers are typically NFL, F1, football fans. We occasionally dabble here and there in other sports like rugby and NBA. Yeah. So this is the first time of us ever covering tennis. First time of us watching tennis for, I'd say, multiple years. So I know a lot of people out there will be thinking the same thing, especially the younger generations. Do you think tennis is a boring sport to watch?
That's a hard question, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not hard. It's yes or no.
Okay, I'm gonna have to say yes.
Well, I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah, for me, it's boring just because the games are so long. Honestly, why do I have to sit there for like 10 hours waiting for the game to finish? Why is there so many sets? Why is there so many different games? Why is it the first to like 5? Just bring it down a bit. I think. What are your thoughts, Matt? Go on.
No, I agree.
Know.
I mean, the viewers who are watching this, they could say, we got a TikTok attention span. Our attention span have been fried a little bit, and you just can't sit and watch a game for longer than an hour and a half or something. But at the same time, I think the longest tennis game ever was 11 hours back in 2010, and that was just a normal old tennis match. Went on 11 hours over the span of 3 days, and I mean, if football went on that long, you wouldn't watch it, would you?
Well, Well,
No,
maybe,
you
maybe.
wouldn't. No, you. Hey, say it was the most bang average match, like Barnsley United versus I don't know, Cheltenham. If that went on for 11 hours, would you seriously sit there and watch it for a course for 3 days?
To be honest, you've chosen like two really bad examples right there. Okay, I would not watch that game. You're right, but they are lower league sides. I think you are right in saying though. The TikTok generation, the younger generation, probably can't sit there.
No,
I know I can't. I can't even watch a film these days. I can't watch a 2-hour film without getting up and like
that is
making
poor.
myself something to eat or something. You know what I mean?
That's poor from
Like,
you.
All right, you said the same earlier in the previous recording. But no, I can't do it. So I think you are right. The TikTok generation, myself included, I couldn't sit there and watch a game for
No, I
10
couldn't.
hours,
I know
11
I
hours.
couldn't either. Do you think
Yeah.
that means tennis is probably a dying sport? Especially with, I mean, you look at the generation below us as well.
Yeah.
They're even worse than what we are. Our attention span is bad, but theirs is like 10 times as worse.
Okay.
There's no way on earth I see any of those people watching tennis.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a dying sport. I think they just need to like revamp it to bring out like a Netflix show like they did with Drive to Survive and all these sort of stuff. They need to bring out the personalities and show a bit more character to the tennis players, because I don't really know that much about like Andy Murray, or obviously I know him from playing tennis and whatnot, but I don't know his like personality like I do with F1 drivers, football players, NBA players. All, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no, I think that's
So-
what Netflix does really, really well when they do
Yeah.
their sport documentaries. You know, they get a narrative. They get the best. I mean, they get some of the best athletes in each of those sports.
Yeah.
They get them to say their stories, and they get some of the lesser athletes as well, who are more comedic or more well liked. And you know, they share their stories to the fans. I mean, what we've got Drive to Survive obviously being the main one. Obviously revitalising F1 completely from an
Yes.
old man sport
It's
to
so
a
fashionable now, isn't it? Everyone loves
F1.
Survive.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, what 6 years ago when I was still watching, old people watched it, and it was weird if you watched it when you were like below 30 years old. Nowadays, completely different. It's weird if you're old and you watch it. We also got we got a rugby documentary out. We got an NFL episode out and a NASCAR episode out. I think there's an NBA one as well. So American sports being popularized everywhere from Netflix. I think if tennis had something similar to that, I think that sport could be completely revitalized, and a lot more younger fans would be more interested in it than they are now.
Yeah, for me, I have to agree. And there are similar things with like movies, for example. Like you've got the Zendaya movie that came out recently. And
Weird
you've,
film.
You've also got the Williams one with like Will Smith talking about. It's like a documentary sort of film about the Williams family and their success in tennis and whatnot. And that was a very good film, to be honest. But it's just they've got to find a way how to bring in the younger fans, because I feel like it is almost like an older person's sport, if you like. Yeah, it's trying to find a way how to bridge that gap and get more people. Like,
It's trying to find a younger audience.
First playing it and first enjoy watching it as well. You got to find a little in between, because obviously I know a lot of younger generation love darts at the moment because of Luke Littler. That's becoming a popular thing, but maybe they can do the same thing with tennis. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that brings me on to my next question, because you were mentioning it's more of an old man sport. But also, I think a stereotype around tennis is it's a rich man sport as well. Like, especially because you got personalities in there. I think the general idea around tennis is if you're a fan of tennis, you give off rich person like attitude and personality. Do you think that's the case with tennis? That it's just a bit too posh for most people?
Don't want to stereotype here, but
Well, I think you have to stereotype in sports. I think every sport has a stereotype.
I think it is it's a rich person sport in the sense of it's sort of hard to access in terms of finding the court to play on. The equipment is quite expensive as well, like buying a racket and well, I suppose buying a racket and like
I think the balls
tennis balls
themselves are
aren't
quite expensive in the
Are
long
they?
run.
okay.
You lose some balls, it's like 20 quid per box.
Yeah, I suppose so. So it's not. It is expensive, but then it's not. I don't know. I think it's sort of like in the middle ground. But just I think that the whole accessibility of it for me puts me off, because obviously I played it when I was younger in school, but outside of that I never pursued it. Probably because I couldn't find anywhere to play realistically. So I think it is sort of a rich person sport because of that reason, the accessibility of it. But what are your thoughts, Matt? Would you agree?
I'd say the same reasons. You know, it's not really as accessible as like say football. You know, you'll find a football pitch everywhere. You'll find it in a village. You'll find it in a random cow field in the middle of nowhere. You'll find it in a city centre. But tennis courts, I don't think they're that prevalent everywhere. I mean, you'll see it in a few football fields around. I know my football field back home where I live, there's a tennis court, but that's privately owned. So even then, you still have to pay to go in, which I think is another reason why tennis is so like not as accessible, because you've got to pay to actually play it. But I think another reason why tennis is considered a rich man's sport, like I was bringing it earlier, I think the people who are fans of it, they also seem rich. I just don't know. It's when I watch it on TV, like you see Wimbledon, right? You got the royal family there. You got celebrities there. It just screams rich man sport, doesn't it?
What's wrong with the royal family?
I'm not going to go into this because let's be honest, that might upset like majority of the nation.
Okay, bring me back to tennis. I think Wimbledon, for example, for me as well. Just talking about that, I feel like the tickets are so overpriced. Like, they're so
Tickets are expensive
like,
for Wimbledon, man.
I'm never ever gonna buy a Wimbledon ticket just because one. Okay, how do I get there? Where even is Wimbledon? Oh, I don't know. Secondly,
You can watch it on TV if you wanted to.
It's a good couple like £100 potentially. I don't know, but yeah, obviously I can watch it on TV. But again, games are long. I'm not going to be sitting there for 3 days until the whole tournament's over.
Yeah,
I'd rather watch the highlights on YouTube.
Yeah, why would I pay 200, 300 quid to go watch a day of Wimbledon where I can watch a 3-minute highlight which shows the exact same result?
Yeah, and I think the highlights are way more easier and better to watch because you don't have to sit there for like 10 hours waiting for something exciting to happen. You get the excitement straight away on a 3-minute video. So
Although,
who knows?
not being biased here, we can't be biased on the Benchwarmers channel. Obviously, every sport could be said the same about, and like the highlights are probably better to watch than the full thing.
Especially F1. No, I'm joking.
Kaim,
I like
calm
F1
down.
I like F1
Keep your
now.
mouth quiet.
I like F1. I was just joking.
I won't have any slander for my sport here.
I'm just trying to wind up a little bit. Go on then. So carry on.
But no, like I was saying, every sport you can say the same thing. Highlights are probably better to watch. I must admit, hands up, sometimes I don't watch the full races. I watch the highlights only.
Oh,
I'll put my
fake
hands
fan.
up to that.
Fake fan.
Sometimes I just don't have time on the weekend, and I think that goes the same with like football as well, rugby, cricket as well. Cricket's another one out there. You wouldn't watch a full day of cricket on TV.
No chance. That's probably worse than tennis for me. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, that's another episode. Let's be honest. Keep it to tennis for this one. But yeah, every sport you can say highlights are better to watch, and I think if tennis can find a way to make the games a little shorter, a little more accessible to fans, reduce the stereotype that it's a rich man sport, I think it could be a lot more better for younger fans to get into.
Yeah, and with that being said, I think we've had a good run on this episode, and I think we should leave it there, to be honest, because 18 minutes in, we've spoke about a lot of stuff, and hopefully you can give us a little bit of leeway. This is the first tennis episode we've recorded,
Yeah, leave comments as well. Leave comments as well, just saying like if what we should be watching in tennis, who we should be watching as well, because we only know. I think the only tennis players I know are like Federer, Djokovic, Andy Murray, and Nadal, and I don't think any of them play anymore except Djokovic. So let us know what we should get into, and if we should continue with these tennis episodes, and maybe we'll do it again in the future.
Yeah, let us know who we should be following, who we should be looking out for, who are the top players in the sport. Like, comment, subscribe. Have we done this tennis episode, the Australian Open justice? I don't know. Maybe we are for the first time recording. So yeah, thanks again for watching us. We really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on the Instagram. Follow us on the TikTok. Type in @thebenchwarmers. _. They're all very similar, but it's slightly different. Like a full stop here and there, a dash here and there. I don't know.
Yeah, just look for our mugs on the profile picture. You'll know it's us.
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching and peace out.